How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Hope you had a great weekend. The phone number 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. Very happy to have you. We've got to begin with two separate stories with a common tie. The president just a short time ago signed an executive order making flag burning illegal in the country. He actually can't do that, but why is he doing it? The why is related to what happened at the Democratic National Committee's meeting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they began this way.
Lindy Somek, who is from the Saginaw Ojibwe Nation, and she's going to deliver our land acknowledgement today. Lindy?
Just listen.
Bonjour, Lindy Somek, Nindichnikaz, Amik Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis. The Dakota cared for the lands, lakes, and the Wapatonka, the Great River, the Mississippi River, for thousands of years before colonization. This land was not claimed or traded. It's a part of a history of broken treaties and promises. And in many ways, we still live in a system built to suppress Indigenous peoples' cultural and spiritual history. As Democrats,
we acknowledge the land. Really, this is how the Democratic National Committee began its summer meeting, with a land acknowledgement of colonized, stolen land that was the property of a group of Indians who actually murdered other Indians who took it from them, who murdered other Indians who took it from them. But it's Whitey who's the bad guy. It's the Americans who are the bad guys. This is how the Democratic National Committee began its meeting, with a land acknowledgement. Talk about an 80-20 issue. People who do this sort of thing are weird people. They're not normal people. The Canadian progressives had King Charles do a land acknowledgement. That's kind of funny. This land was some Obichwa Indian tribe until I took it. And now it's mine, and you can't have it back. The Democrats would do this and talk about the suppression of indigenous peoples and things like that. It's all kind of dumb. It's an 80-20 issue. They found themselves on the side of the 20% issue, which gets me to the flag burning. It is, whether you like it or not, constitutional to burn the American flag. It's absolutely 100% constitutional. The case involves Texas versus Johnson, decided in 1989. It's a 5-4 case. And it was Antonin Scalia was involved in the majority. The dissent was Byron White, Sandra Day O'Connor, John Paul Stevens, and William Rehnquist. The majority was Brennan, Thurgood Marshall, Blackmun, Scalia, Kennedy. Y'all, I'm very sorry, but you can't go to jail for burning the flag in the United States. It's actually a matter of free speech in this country. You may not like it. You may not like it, but it's a matter of free speech in this country. You cannot go to prison for burning the flag. Now, here's the thing. Donald Trump knows this. The team around Donald Trump that authored this executive order knows this. What the president's trying to claim is that if you burn the flag, you're not going to be charged with burning the flag. You're going to be charged with incitement because you'll have started a riot because people will wish to defend the flag. You will start a riot. You can't do that. This is from the White House. He has signed the order. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's ruling on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. He's trying to steer around Texas versus Johnson. You can't do it. You can't do it. Now, I know some of you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I can assure you as a lawyer who did constitutional law, you're not going to claim that somehow someone burning a flag is fighting words. You actually aren't going to be able to do that because contrary to what his executive order says, the Supreme Court did not clearly rule that, but certainly in the concurring opinions, the fighting words comes up. And the incitement to riot, most of the people when you're burning a flag are standing around you celebrating you burning the flag. But that's the point here. Despite all the language that, well, the Supreme Court really hasn't taken this side of the issue and it was 5-4 and maybe that's not actually the point. Everybody there except maybe the president and probably him too knows it's unconstitutional. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen? A bunch of progressives are going to go out, do their land acknowledgement, and then set fire to the American flag. You're going to get Democrats on the side of flag burners. Nobody likes people burning the American flag. Antonin Scalia had a very famous line relating to the flag burning case, where he said if he could, he would. If it were up to me, I would put in jail every sandal-wearing, scruffy-bearded weirdo who burns the American flag. That's Antonin Scalia. If it were up to me, I would put in jail every sandal-wearing, scruffy-bearded weirdo who burns the American flag. But I am not king. Cannot do it. That was a speech at the Union League, an event moderated by Robert George at Princeton University. Said it is not constitutional. Scalia was the fifth and deciding vote in Texas versus Johnson upholding flag burning. A year later, he voted against a federal law that banned flag burning in U.S. versus Eichmann. Ronald Reagan saw a protester, Gregory Lee Johnson. He burned a flag outside City Hall in Dallas, Texas in 1984. A lot of people were upset by Johnson pouring lighter fluid on the flag and setting it on fire. Texas rounded him up, put him in jail, charged him a $2,000 fine. The case made its way up to the Supreme Court, and Scalia was the deciding vote. And Scalia ruled, when a decision authored by Justice Brennan, that burning the flag is constitutional. It's a matter of free speech. It may offend us, but many people say things and do things as a course of the First Amendment that offend us. But that's not what's happening here because Donald Trump knows the Democrats are going to offend you now. The Democrats are going to start burning flags. I guarantee you we're going to start seeing a bunch of protesters out in the streets burning American flags to prove that they can. And they will play directly into Donald Trump's hands. And sometimes they can't help themselves. This flag, this land acknowledgement at the DNC, it's a weirdo thing to do. It is a weirdo thing to do to have some lady come up and start speaking in American Indian dialects and languages and then translate it in English and say, we acknowledge we're on stolen land that was colonized by those awful Americans. You're an American. There's no reason for you to apologize. I think most Americans understand that contrary to the idealized vegan image of American Indians, they were actually pretty savage amongst themselves, killing each other. Here's the problem. I want to go to this clip from Harry Itten on CNN about the Democratic Party right now.
Look, the Democratic brand right now has about the appeal with the American voter as the Cracker Barrel rebrand has with the American consumers. Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration changes in the key swing states? Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005 in all 4 of these key battleground states. We go out to the Southwest, Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republicans doing better at this point than at any point this century, at least as far as I could find.
And now you're going to have Democrats with their land acknowledgments burning American flags. They're already in the streets in D.C. saying, bring back the murders. I mean, that's how far left they are. If Trump is for it, they're automatically against it. There are things that Trump is for that you should be against, like buying 10% of Intel and the sovereign wealth fund sort of Chinese state capitalism stuff. It's bad, but notice the Democrats are okay with that because they know that they'll be able to get back in charge at some point and control all this stuff. But these other things, it's just wild to see how they take the bait every time. Donald Trump gets the Democrats time and time again to take the bait. You know, it's starting to dawn on Democrats, and we'll get into this at the bottom of the hour. It's starting to dawn on Democrats that they fell into a trap on redistricting. Gavin Newsom couldn't help himself. He wanted to be the fighter. He wanted to show he could fight. He wanted to show he would fight. He took the bait. And now the Republicans are going to get a decade-long advantage because Gavin Newsom took the bait. On crime, the Democrats have taken the bait. They're literally out there saying, bring back the crime. There's an op-ed in the Washington Post. We'll get into it later. The guy he's a progressive. He lives in D.C. He's like, yeah, I acknowledge that crime is now better than it was, but what Donald Trump is doing is still wrong. Bring back the crime. There hasn't been a murder in Washington, D.C. in 12 days. That's unheard of in Washington, D.C., and the Democrats are upset about it. And you know what the spin is now? The children are going back to school, and they're going to see mean men in camouflage with guns. That's the complaint. The Washington Post, Politico, others are saying the children are going back to school, and they're going to see mean men with guns keeping them safe. They're going to feel scared. Really, this is where the Democrats are. So the president's executive order is unconstitutional. Now, all of you, I think, actually know it's unconstitutional. Even the people who are trying to defend it know it's unconstitutional. You can't do it. The Supreme Court has ruled. It was a 5-4 decision. There's no going back. The burning the flag is a matter of free speech. The idea that it is directly tied to incitement or fighting words is nonsensical. It's just a clever way around the Supreme Court so they have some defense of it. There's really no defense of it. It actually is an unconstitutional order. It won't be enforced, but that's not the point. That's not the point. That was never the point. The point was knowing that it would encourage Democrats to go out and burn flags. The Democrats are going to go out and start burning flags. They'll do their land acknowledgments. They will burn the flags. They have been played yet again. I have always said that Donald Trump's superpower is getting Democrats to behave in ways they claim he behaves. Donald Trump gets Democrats to do the things they claim, not that he does it, but that they claim Donald Trump does. Democrats are as authoritarian as they claim Donald Trump is. But the thing that really is Donald Trump's genius is he knows how to provoke the Democrats into standing up for absurd things, whether it's defending illegal aliens, defending crime, or now defending flag burning. What he needs to do tomorrow is he needs to pass an executive order banning land acknowledgments. Ban the land acknowledgments, Mr. President, and watch the Democrats come out tomorrow and double down on stupid on land acknowledgments, and then write an executive order demanding that every day, every American be required, make it mandatory for every American to breathe and watch what the Democrats do. Greetings, conversationalists. Now, we've had a number of callers who have called in, and they've all asked a question some of you may be asking. If it is constitutional to burn the American flag, if it's a matter of free speech, why are people going to jail for burning pride flags? And also somebody went to jail for burning a Black Lives Matter flag. So how is that possible? You can burn the one and not the other. You know, one of my repeated concerns is people who get their news from, well, places that affirm them. They don't challenge them. They tell them what they want to hear, and they might leave out details for the sake of narrative. I mean, it's what CNN does. It's what MSNBC does, but it's also what some on the right do. The problem is that in every single case, including the one most people are talking about, where the 4 boys were charged with a hate crime for burning a pride flag, there's a key detail missed in the news stories. They stole the flag. Hate crimes, you can't be charged with a hate crime by itself. It's got to be tied to another crime. And in that very famous case, the group of teenagers who were charged with a hate crime in Midtown Atlanta for burning pride flags and slashing pride flags, they actually committed vandalism targeting gay businesses where the pride flag was. And so they were charged with a hate crime for burning someone else's pride flag that they stole. This tends to be the case. There's not a case anywhere in the country, and if you don't believe me, go buy a pride flag and go set fire to it. Videotape yourself. See what happens. You might get some protesters, but you're not. In every one of the cases, the Black Lives Matter flag and the pride flags, it was people who stole other people's flags and set fire to them. And it's the stealing that's the problem. And then you can be charged with a hate crime. I'm opposed to hate crimes. I think they should be unconstitutional, but they're not. But you can go burn a pride flag. You can go burn a BLM flag. You can burn a flag of your state. You can burn the U.S. flag, and it's a free speech issue. Whether I think it should be or not, that's just the law of the land. Now, what you can't do is go steal someone else's flag and burn their flag. That actually is a crime. Stealing's a crime. And that gets you in trouble. And those are each of those cases that people have raised involve vandalizing someone else's flag. 10 regional banks have seen their credit downgraded recently. They're going to keep making profits. They're going to probably get a bailout. The government wants to bail everybody out these days. Swiss America has been sounding the alarm about a secret war on cash. It's an all-out assault on freedom with soaring interest rates squeezing the economy and banks teetering on collapse. Swiss America can educate you on ways to protect your hard-earned assets now. Get the report, The Secret War on Cash. Completely free copy. All you have to do is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's spreading. Get the Secret War on Cash report completely free. All you have to do is mention my name, Eric. When you call or text 800-289-2646, you can just text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or call or text 800-289-2646. Just text my name to Swiss America. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome back. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you have a question and need to call in, you can ask. Don't forget to text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the show notes, the live stream. Subscribe to our afternoon podcast, The 4 Things You Need to Know, because, by the time the show ends, there's all this breaking news that happens. So I put together the 4 things you need to know before you get home from work in the afternoon. Easy 7-minute max listen on your way home in the afternoon. Now, I got to talk about more bait setting by the president. It really is fascinating how Donald Trump lives in these people's mind, is it not? I mean, just think about this for a minute. Just think. They have been convinced in 2016, they were absolutely fundamentally convinced that Russia stole the election for Donald Trump. In fact, they were convinced that Donald Trump couldn't get elected without the Russians' help, and that he was a Russian plant. In fact, it still comes up now. Even Bill Maher has started calling out the left for the mythology that Trump was some sort of Russian plant. So they were convinced in 2020, while Republicans were convinced 2020 was stolen, Democrats were convinced that 2020 was setting everything right, that the Russians had no longer interfered, it was legitimate, and clearly Republicans could never win again. Along comes 2024. Donald Trump not only wins a second term, but he wins with the popular vote. That was something the Democrats never even conceived of. In fact, the Democratic mythology had always been that Donald Trump could win, but if he or any other Republican won the presidency ever again, it would be because of the Electoral College, not the popular vote. And in Democratic states, they have systemically been trying to work to get rid of the Electoral College by binding states to the national popular vote. So it didn't matter if your state majority of the voters voted for a Republican. If the majority of the country voted Democrat, the Electoral College for your state would go to the Democrat, regardless of the votes of the people. And Democrats in Democratic states thought this was a great idea because the Democrats in Democratic states wanted to do what they could to rig the deck for the Democrats. And the Electoral College is seen as the last vestige of propping up Republicans, and they needed to get rid of it. Along comes Donald Trump, and he wins the popular vote in 2024. And notice, there's no narrative for the Democrats now, and this is very important. The narrative in 2000, when George W. Bush lost the popular vote and won, was, again, the Electoral College propping up the Republicans, and also that, don't worry about it, guys, demography's destiny, the GOP's days are done. In 2004, Bush wins the popular vote, wins the majority of the vote, and the narrative for the Democrats is that Ken Blackwell and Ohio stole it. There was some nefariousness there, and it wasn't really a legitimate loss. 2008, Obama gets elected, nature is healing. He gets reelected in 2012, proven nature's healing, Republicans will never win again. 2016, a Republican actually wins, but the Russians stole the election. 2020, Joe Biden wins, nature has healed. 2024, Donald Trump wins, majority or the plurality of the popular vote. They have no narrative that they're telling themselves or anyone else. They're not even trying to come up with a spin on 2024. To the extent they have one, it's blame Joe Biden, not their policies. And also it's the messaging. It's not the message, it's how they tell the message. That's the problem. There's always an excuse. The reality is that Donald Trump is in their head. He lives rent-free there. And Donald Trump, it's very easy for Donald Trump to bait the Democrats. Just look, he goes after illegal immigration, and the Democrats start defending illegal immigrants. They start defending the gangbangers and the murderers. You, by the way, individually listening can say I'm nut picking, and that's not true, but it is true. The Democratic Party has come out and repeatedly defended people. Just last week, a man in Washington, D.C. was pulled over and detained, pulled out of his vehicle. Members of the national press and members of Congress on the Democratic side attacked the Republicans for doing this. It turns out the man was a child predator and an illegal alien. Abrego Garcia, with purported ties to gangs in El Salvador. They're having a hearing on him today. The MS-13 guys and the Trinidad guys in the Aurora, Colorado complex. Remember, the media came out and said it wasn't true. Democrats said it wasn't true. 30 of them have just been indicted, 28 who lived in the apartment complex, 2 of them tied to the people in the apartment complex. And the Democrats are on their side. Time and time again, the Democrats take stands on the 20% side of issues with illegal immigration. Then there's Washington, D.C. and crime. They're defending the criminals. They're defending crime in the city. They're denying there's a problem. They put enormous resources into members of the press going on television claiming, I live in the D.C. area, which means not Washington, and there is no crime problem, when everyone knows there's a crime problem. And then there's redistricting. The Republicans have the smallest majority since the Great Depression in the House of Representatives. Republicans in Texas decided to redistrict. And the way the Republicans in Texas decided to redistrict was they actually took some Republican seats and made them less Republican to gain other seats. They're still pretty Republican if you assume the Hispanic vote stays with the Republicans, and I'm not really convinced on that. But if you assume it's all true and the Republicans hold their margins, yeah, the Republicans stand to pick up 5 more seats. But they could lose elsewhere. All of this was designed to provoke the Democrats to redistrict. Why do the Republicans want the Democrats to redistrict? Because, by the way, the Republicans in Washington want Gavin Newsom and the California Democrats to do what they're doing. They want them to. Why? Why on earth could Republicans want Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in California to wipe out the Republicans there? Because in Ohio and in Indiana, the Republican governors and Republican legislators are less than enthused about engaging in mid-decade redistricting. Donald Trump needs Ohio, Missouri, and Indiana in particular to redistrict. And with the exception of Missouri, Indiana and Ohio haven't been inclined to redistrict. But they said, if Gavin Newsom and the Democrats do it in California, we will do it. Gavin Newsom took the bait. Gavin Newsom is more interested in running for president than he is interested in helping the Democrats. Gavin Newsom is getting the buzz. He's starting to go up in the polling, and Donald Trump lives rent-free in his head. Gavin Newsom took the bait. Democrats are starting to realize Gavin Newsom has taken the debate. And by the way, you should know national Democratic strategists are okay with the surge in Gavin Newsom's polling popularity. Right now, Gavin Newsom leads the pack with about 30% of the vote. If the Democratic primary for president were tomorrow, who you'd vote for? Oh, he fights. He's fighting Trump. The Democratic strategists I've talked to, very senior strategists who you would know, are all very excited that Gavin Newsom is doing this because they hate him. They know that people hate him. They know that more people learn about him. He's not actually a shoo-in. And they're happy that he's flying so close to the sun because they think, and they will work to, blame Gavin Newsom for the redistricting troubles. This is Rick Klein talking about on ABC News the redistricting problems for the Democratic Party.
The fight for the House is almost certainly going to be the biggest thing on the ballot next year. You see how tight it is now. After some special elections, Democrats are actually going to close this gap even more, we think, and they only need to flip 3 seats in the midterms next year to win control of the House. So there's no guarantees, but he is definitely onto something. And in this nationwide war over redistricting, we've seen the 2 biggest states go first, the biggest red state, Texas. You mentioned those 5 additional seats.
Look at all that red.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of blue. They're squeezing that big time. Now, what we're seeing the opposite in California, where the Democrats under Gavin Newsom are putting a map on the ballot for voters this fall that could get them those 5 seats back. So that would make those 2 states.
Only 4 Republican seats, 48 for the Democrats if they pull it off.
If they are able to pull it off with the voters next year. And then, John, if you look at the other states that might still do redistricting this year, bottom line, it is advantage GOP. There are just more opportunities in places like Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, and Florida than there are in some of the big blue states like Illinois and Maryland. So at the end of this, it looks like Republicans are going to be able to squeeze just a little bit more juice out of these redistricting fights.
All because Gavin Newsom took the bait. 100% because Gavin Newsom took the bait. That's it. This is a massive ticking time bomb for the Democrats as well because of the 2030 reapportionment in the Electoral College. Everyone knows, including the Democrats, they know that there will be an electoral college advantage for Republicans. This is from the New York Times today. The year is 2032. Studying the electoral college map, a Democratic presidential candidate can no longer plan to sweep New Hampshire, Minnesota, and the blue wall battlegrounds of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin to win the White House. A victory in the swing state of Nevada won't help either. This is the nightmare scenario many Democratic Party insiders see playing out if current U.S. population projections hold. After every decennial census, like the one coming in 2030, congressional seats are reallocated among the states based on population shifts. Those seats, in turn, affect how big a prize each state is within the Electoral College, or how a candidate actually wins the presidency. In the next decade, the Electoral College will shift significantly away from Democrats. Deeply conservative Texas and Florida could gain a total of 5 congressional seats, and the red states of Utah and Idaho are each expected to add a seat. Those gains come at the expense of New York and California, according to New York Times analysis of population shifts. Midwestern states like Minnesota and Pennsylvania could lose a seat. Across all the possible scenarios in the 9 states that would be considered battlegrounds in 2032, Democrats would see a third of their current winning electoral college combination disappear if population projections hold. However, when looking only at the most feasible winning combinations based on voting patterns, the outlook is far worse. Of Democrats' 25 most plausible paths to victory in 2024, only 5 would remain. Some groups have arrived at an even more challenging outlook for Democrats in 2032. For example, the Brennan Center for Justice, a nonpartisan organization, liberal, projected Republicans to have 3 more safe seats from Texas and Florida, and New York to lose 1 more seat than the Times projection. The Democratic Party already faces acute challenges after its disastrous losses in 2024, including fundraising woes, an electorate that slid decidedly to the right, a vacuum in leadership, and a sharp decline in voter registrations. Y'all, the Democrats are not popular. Donald Trump is about to send the National Guard to blue cities and blue states. Chicago is next on the list. It's actually to help with deportations. It's not to fight crime, although they're going to put a lot of the National Guard troops in areas of high crime on the south side of Chicago and dare anyone to shoot at them. The governor of Illinois can't stop the president from doing this. And you're going to have the Democrats yet again on the side of illegal immigrants and crime combined on the south side of Chicago. It is notorious nationally, the south side of Chicago, for its violence. And you're going to have Democrats yet again defending it at a time they're not very popular. Now, here's the thing, Democrats. Here's your silver lining. Events change things. And the reality, the God's honest truth, is that Donald Trump's engagement in the economy with tariffs, with controls over companies like Intel, that could blow up in the Republicans' faces. Prices are starting to go up. Companies are starting to raise prices. If you got the show notes today, you can text Eric to 33777 and get the show notes. It's the top link. John Deere is starting to feel the impact of tariffs. They're raising prices. Walmart is now raising prices. Target is raising prices. Amazon is raising prices. If you get stuff shipped in from abroad, a lot of it's not going to come. The postal services of other countries, effective today, are no longer sending packages into this country because of the tariffs. You could have economic fallout that helps the Democrats. You really could. You could. But the Democrats are their own worst enemy because Donald Trump knows how to play them. They can't stay on an economic message, in large part because the Democrats are socialists. They can't argue about Donald Trump taking shares in Intel. They can't argue about tariffs because, I mean, it's actually tax increases, and the Democrats like tax increases. And then they're on the side of the criminals. They're on the side of the illegal aliens. Unless Democrats can figure out how to play Trump, he's playing them like a fiddle. And he just baited Gavin Newsom into handing Republicans control of the House of Representatives for the next 15 years. Republicans in Indiana and Ohio, they were not going to redistrict, and now they're going to because of California. Trump keeps playing the Democrats masterfully, putting them on the 20% side of 80-20 issues, and there seems to be no Democrat out there who has figured out yet how to respond in a way that stops them from coming out on the side of crazy. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computer. If you need a new computer, Vision can help you. Go to 404-COMPUTE is the phone number, or call them at 404-COMPUTER. Go to visioncomputers.com. They can build you computers. They can also service your computers. If you've got a company that has managed IT, you should give them a call at 404-COMPUTE. They might be able to save you some money. And instead of having an email IT ticketing system, they have a phone number your employees call. The phone gets picked up 15 seconds or less. Your employees get their answers to their questions, and they get back to productivity. So not only do they save you money, but they actually keep you online longer. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Vision can build you computers. They can upgrade your computers. They can even transfer all the stuff from your old computer to your new computer if it's all Windows 11 compliant, so you don't miss any downtime. You keep going, and you become more productive with Vision Computers. They can do it for your home or your office as well. If you're in the gig economy, sitting at a coffee shop all day working, Vision can also manage your computer as well. $199 a year. That's it. $199 a year, not a week, not a month, not a day. $199 a year. So call them, see if they can save you some money. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Here's another 80-20 issue for you. I want to read to you this tweet from ABC News. 2 U.S. hospitals are the latest to announce they will be ending some or all of their pediatric gender-affirming care services at the end of the month. Some experts say patients could be harmed. Gender-affirming care, that's another left-wing euphemism for surgically altering kids for transgenderism. Only about 20% of Americans think that kids should be surgically altered for transitioning. Slightly higher, about 35 to 40%, still far less than a majority, think that kids should be given puberty blockers and things like that could have lasting damage and make them sterile. And yet the Democrats are on the side of this. The Democrats are on the side of it as a party. The Democrats are yet again on the side of a deeply unpopular issue. The precipitating point, the starting point of this were boys and girls sports. The Democrats couldn't just say bad idea. They still can't. Nancy Pelosi just last week, yet again, defended having boys and girls sports. They actually don't understand how foreign and alien so much of this is for so many people and how divisive it is. And there are a lot of parents who simply can't bring themselves to vote Democrat who don't like Donald Trump, but they can't bring themselves to vote for Democrats because they understand that if they do, it might put their daughter at a competitive disadvantage to a boy with a scholarship, among other things. The Democrats can't seem to get this figured out. They don't want to figure it out because so much of the donor class of the Democratic Party is that far left. They are held hostage by the awfuls, the affluent white female urban liberals, and the very progressive donors, many of whom are gay men who support this stuff. And the Democrats can't get in line with the majority of the people on pretty much any major cultural issue today. The Democrats are on the 20% side of the 80-20 issue.